Imagine your favorite burger from your favorite local burger joint just down the street. Imagine the warm, brown, fluffy bun topped with sesame seeds, fresh green lettuce, fresh red tomatoes. Now imagine setting that burger down on your counter for about a week and then walking up to it and it still looks just as enjoyable as it did the first day you got it. It's really mind-blowing, isn't it? This is because that nowadays food is being injected with hormones to keep it from naturally decaying like it should. Okay. How did we get to the point where genetic engineering was infiltrating so much of what we ate? Food used to be planted, watered, and then uprooted when it was ready to be sold. Humans have always been obsessed with the idea of genetic engineering because it could open up so many scientific breakthroughs. According to History of Genetic Engineering, retrieved December 3, 2013 from the AmericanRadioWorks.publicradio.org website, in 1973, there was a grad student from the Stanford University Medical School called Herbert Moyer who was interested in learning how to modify an organism's genetic code. Now, he didn't quite have the resources yet, but a few years later after that, a few biologists, along with several lawyers and medical professionals, were able to sit down and construct a blueprint on how to regulate an organism's genetic customized code. It wasn't until 3 years later when the first court case appeared pleading for permission to make the first GMO patent. Just about a year right after that, the first genetically modified product was out on the market, and it was called Flavor Savor Tomatoes. And it was called Flavor Savor Tomatoes. And by 1999, genetically modified organisms had taken over the world. My name is Whitney Kanjala, and today I believe that genetically modified organisms can really help, and they can really produce a lot of breakthroughs, but not to make a profit. And the only way to end this epidemic is to eat organic food because there's no additives, preservatives, or any harsh chemicals that could really hurt us. Today I will be discussing what GMOs are, what the hormones are used, including sex hormones, the risk factors involved, including the FDA, and I will be talking about healthy alternatives such as organic food. And this picture right here actually shows DNA. It's being modified, you're adding or removing chromosomes, and then this is the organism that's left over, and that's the GMO. Okay, so I've already given you a brief overview of what genetically modified organisms are. They're just animals or food products that have been genetically modified. You go in, genetic engineering is really simple. You take an organism, reconstruct its DNA, and then it's genetically modified. There's no natural decay with these organisms just because they've been injected with hormones to keep them from naturally decaying like they should. Everything from crops, produce, cows, chickens, fish, anything you name that you can pretty much inject with a hormone has been injected with it. And I got this information from Smith J's a book called Seeds of Deception, Exposing Industry and Government Lies About the Safety of Genetically Engineered Foods You're Eating. Hormones. Now, I'm pretty sure you all have heard of hormones. I learned about hormones back in the 4th grade. Hormones are a system of glands that regulate body function. Now, the question that pops up into my head is if hormones are naturally regulated in your bodies, then why are they being injected into the food that we eat if those products already regulate their own hormones? And it's all about profit. If a company can somehow create profit and eliminate the waiting process, then they'll probably take advantage of the opportunity. It's all about instant gratification, and unfortunately that's the world that we live in today. They want to get their product out on the market, and probably in half the time they can increase their revenue exceptionally. As far as the meat and dairy industry is involved, there's 6 main steroid hormones used, and they're up here: estradiol, progesterone, testosterone, zeranol, and the last one happens to be RBGH. Now, if you go to certain restaurants like Chipotle, they'll say RBGH free, which is a pretty toxic hormone that has to do with cows. Okay, cows have this natural hormone in their body called BGH, which is just bovine growth hormone, and it's a genetic alternative of the growth hormone produced in cows, and that's where they got the word RBGH from. They take the hormone called somatotropin, and they genetically modify it, and that's why it's called RBGH. Somatotropin is found in the pituitary glands of cows, and it's sold by an American international chemical and agricultural biotechnology company called Monsanto, and it wasn't until years ago when Soviets wanted to learn not only how to stimulate but increase the milk production in cows by harnessing that hormone, And about 3 years later, Monsanto found a way to detach the gene and isolate it by using a method called gene splicing, which is combining different genetic remains from different organisms to create a recombinant DNA. And this RBGH causes mastitis in cows, which causes them to produce pus in their udders. And this all probably sounds really pointless, but if this is what's happening to the cows, imagine what's happening to us when we drink their milk. And most of us take that risk every day with a cup of coffee or with our bowl of cereal. Now here's another hormone that's been used, and it's called DES. DES was one of the hormones used. It's an artificial estrogen hormone that was given to women from around the 1940s to the 1970s when it was actually banned. It was prescribed by general practitioners to enhance the woman's estrogen levels to reduce chances of miscarriage, early labor, and other pregnancy complications. Now, in 1971, they found out that this hormone actually causes cervical cancer, vaginal cancer, and breast cancer. And the cervix cancer is actually called clear cell adenoma. And daughters of the women who took that hormone were suffering from infertility. So this hormone is just all around bad news. And again, this probably sounds pointless to you, but like I said before, they were feeding this hormone into chickens, and then we were eating those chickens. So in return, we're eating this hormone. It causes early puberty in girls, infertility, low birth weight, and sickness and weight gain. And I got that information from the Whitman Deverby Genetically Modified Foods Harm or Helpful. And James H. Mariansky is a member of the FDA who has tried to fight this and say that genetically modified foods are okay, but it's not, even though they've run tests on it. This topic has only been around for 10 years, and 10 years in science is like 10 minutes. Think about all the drugs that have been deemed as safe. Bextra, Palma, there's a list of them. And they all still have been banned because they've had high risk factors. Organic food is the only way to go. There's no additives or genetic modification, like I said before. Different sections of grocery stores sell them. There's always a seal, like up here it says non-GMO product. These are a list of things that you can go to the store and buy that don't have any GMOs in them. And there's actually a guide right here that says non-GMO shopping guide where if you want to go and find out more about it. Now, every day we walk out of our houses and face disease, infection, germs, and viruses. The last thing we need is for the FDA to tell us that the healthy food we're eating is being tainted with chemicals, and yet it's okay. I believe that genetic modifying our foods is not good. Genetic engineering is great because it can